The city had the kind of rain that didn't fall. It whispered. It crept down windows, slid over pavement, carried a hush that made even sirens sound distant. At St. Clair Hospital, fluorescent lights hummed like tired stars. Emma Carter moved through the corridor with the quiet rhythm of someone who'd long learned that healing lives in stillness. She'd been a nurse for 7 years, long enough to know that most miracles don't announce themselves. They arrive on stretchers. At 2:47 a.m., the ambulance bay doors burst open. Male, mid-30s, no ID, multiple fractures, pulse faint. The paramedics' voices blurred with the rain. Emma pressed her gloved fingers to the man's wrist. A heartbeat, weak, but there. He was pale, soaked, unrecognizable beneath blood and glass dust. Yet something in his face, a softness beneath the bruises, stopped her. It wasn't attraction. It was memory trying to speak through fog. The feeling made no sense, but neither did the ache in her chest. When the surgeons took over, she lingered near the door, staring at the chart that now carried a name, Liam Turner. No address, no contacts, only a silver bracelet engraved with 2 words, "Fly again." Emma whispered the words under her breath, unaware that fate had just reopened a story she thought was long buried. For 3 days, Liam Turner slept between life and the long echo of dreams. Machines breathed for him. Time seemed suspended. Emma checked on him more than protocol required. She told herself it was routine, but routine never made your pulse quicken like that. One night, while adjusting his blanket, she noticed it. A butterfly tattoo, faded at the edges, near his left wrist. The shape jolted something loose in her mind. 2 wings curved unevenly, one slightly larger than the other. She remembered a boy from long ago, her next-door neighbor, a boy who would sneak crayons from her porch and draw butterflies on her arm. He said they were symbols of freedom. She called him Liam, and one night the fire took his house, his laughter, and every summer they'd ever shared. Her throat tightened. The tattoo was too identical to be coincidence. But how could that boy, that 12-year-old, be the man lying in her care now? She stayed by his bed until dawn, watching the rise and fall of his chest, wondering if time could really circle back after 20 years of silence. At 5:14 a.m., she heard him speak. "Where am I?" His voice was dry, raw, a sound pulled from smoke and memory. Emma hurried to his side. "You're in St. Clair Hospital. You've been unconscious for a few days." He blinked at the ceiling. "I don't remember much. Just fire, and a girl calling my name." Her fingers froze mid-air. The world shrank to that single sentence. "That's normal," she said carefully. "You've had a trauma." Memories come back slowly. He turned towards her, eyes clouded yet searching. "Do I know you?" She forced a gentle smile. "No, I'm just your nurse." But the tremor in her voice betrayed her heart. Over the next week he stabilized. Each day she measured not only his vitals but her composure. He spoke little, smiled rarely, yet when he did, it lit something ancient inside her. Sometimes she'd catch him studying her face, as if listening for a song he once knew. And sometimes when she looked back, she swore she heard the melody too. Hospitals are places where time forgets to move. Days blend into sterile light, nights into soft monitor beeps. For Emma and Liam, time became gentler, slow and quiet. She brought him coffee when the doctor allowed caffeine again. He teased her about her terrible handwriting on the charts. Little things, Small laughter. Human again. But in the quiet moments, the distance between them grew electric. The space between recognition and restraint. One rainy afternoon, he asked, "Why did you become a nurse?" She hesitated. "Because I once lost someone I couldn't save." He looked down, voice low. "Then maybe you'll save me." She smiled sadly. "Maybe I already am." He didn't understand. Not yet, but her heart did. Because every word she spoke to him felt like writing letters to the boy she once loved and lost. It was nearly sunset when it happened. The sky outside the window bled orange into blue. Liam sat propped up, sketching on a notepad she'd left by the bed. Emma entered quietly. "What are you drawing?" He turned the pad toward her. "A butterfly, its wings slightly uneven." "I don't know why," he said. "It just feels like something I used to draw." Her breath caught. The air between them stilled. She reached for his hand, turning it gently. Her fingertips brushed the small scar just below the tattoo. Tears filled her eyes. That same scar burned into her memory from the night he pulled her out of the shed. She whispered, trembling, "Liam, it's you." Confusion crossed his face, then disbelief, then realization. Memories flickered behind his eyes like film reels catching light. A fire, a child's cry, his own name. He gasped, "Emma!" And with that single word, 2 decades collapsed into one heartbeat. They spoke until the world outside forgot them. The hospital fell silent. The clock ticked softly. He told her what happened after the fire, how he woke in another city, taken in by relatives who changed his last name, how years erased the small boy she once knew. She told him about the guilt that shadowed her life, how every patient felt like a promise to that boy she couldn't save. Silence wrapped around them, heavy but kind. Finally, she said, "I've spent my whole life helping people heal, but maybe I became a nurse because I never healed myself." He reached for her hand. "You did," he said gently. "You healed me first." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, not violent, just deep and human. Rain began again, soft against the glass. She leaned closer, forehead against his. "You kept your promise," she whispered. He smiled. "I found my way back." For the first time in years, her heart felt light. By spring, Liam was discharged. He chose not to leave town. Instead, he applied for a position in the hospital's physical therapy wing. Emma tried to act professional, but every time she passed his corridor, she felt that same flutter, the quiet beating of wings. Sometimes they met for coffee before their shifts. Sometimes after long days, they'd sit outside in the hospital garden watching real butterflies land on the lavender bushes. They didn't talk about destiny anymore. They simply lived it. There were no confessions, no grand gestures, just 2 people who had already said everything in silence. Years later, the hospital built a small memorial garden for recovered patients. In the center stood a stone engraved with 2 words, "Fly again." Emma and Liam tended it every spring. Patients often saw them sitting there at dusk, 2 figures side by side, sharing quiet stories and gentle smiles. When asked if they were married, Emma would laugh softly. "Not in papers," she'd say, "in memories." Because love, the kind that survives fire and time, doesn't need witnesses. It just needs 2 hearts that kept the same promise.